I can still hear it, even in the quietest moments, as if the world itself conspires to remind me. It started as a single, sharp note slicing through the night, a scream jagged and raw. Sam's scream. I keep replaying it in my mind, over and over, trying to convince myself it's distorted memory. But the moment the wind slips through the cracks of my apartment window, or a door hinge sighs in the hall, the sound returns. Exact, relentless, like a ghost tapping on my skull. People always ask why I went. They imagine a trail map and a foolish sense of adventure. That's not it. It began with the scream, with a sound that shouldn't exist in the human throat, layered beneath with something older, something primal. It didn't belong to him. Not entirely. The night we entered the jungle, I was half a mile behind Sam. Minutes before, we had laughed over granola bars, teasing each other about overpacking. Then the forest exhaled, a vacuum of silence that pressed on my ears, erasing all other sound. And then the scream, a perfect shard of terror that split the night open. I dropped my pack without thinking. My flashlight flickered like it feared the darkness too. Every step I took pulled me deeper into a forest that seemed alive, watching, waiting. The path was no longer a path. The jungle had folded itself around us. I ran toward the sound, heart hammering, mind screaming against instinct. The scream twisted, warped, echoing with layers that weren't Sam's voice. Some part of the forest spoke through him. I realized a presence older than stone and roots. Every instinct screamed to stop, to turn back. But when someone you love is screaming, fear doesn't matter. Only the need to reach them exists. I remember the taste of wet leaves, the cold mud sucking in my boots, the way the trees seemed to bend toward me. It wasn't just darkness. It was anticipation, a patience that stretched beyond comprehension. The scream faded into a chorus of whispers, shadows moving where no light reached. And I knew, before I even reached him, that nothing would ever be the same. One sound, one choice, one forest that never lets go. Sam had a way of turning the mundane into an adventure. So when he suggested a last-minute weekend hike, I didn't think twice. Pack light. We're escaping the city before it eats us alive. He had texted Thursday night. Typical Sam. Dramatic, persuasive, impossible to refuse. By Friday evening, I was tossing granola bars, water bottles, and an overstuffed first aid kit into my backpack, the city's neon skyline blinking behind me like a restless circuit board. He arrived in his battered Jeep, engine coughing like it knew exactly what it was about to face. 2 days, he grinned, handing me a coffee. No deadlines, no traffic, just trees. I laughed, letting the promise of quiet pull me in. The drive south was cliché in the best way. Cheap playlists, sarcastic commentary, and a blur of billboards flashing everything from soda ads to political slogans. At a gas station on the outskirts, a radio news snippet caught my ear, a hiker missing in the national forest. Sam dismissed it with a shrug, though I caught the shadow of unease cross his face. The farther we drove, the narrower the roads became, trading asphalt for gravel. Farmhouses huddled under the clouded sky, their windows glowing like watchful eyes. At a roadside fruit stand, an old woman emerged from behind crates of apples. Her face was a maze of wrinkles, each one darkened by the dying light. "You heading to the jungle trail?" she asked, voice dry as brittle leaves. Sam smiled. "Something like that." Her gaze lingered on me. "The forest keeps what it wants," she warned. "Don't answer if it calls your name." We returned to the Jeep in silence. Sam didn't meet my eyes. Something had shifted, though I didn't understand it yet. The air changed as we drove further. The hum of civilization faded until only the engine and the distant chirp of insects remained. By the time we reached the tiny town near the trailhead, twilight had drained the sky. Locals greeted us politely, but conversation faltered when we stepped inside a small diner. A hunter muttered something incomprehensible, and the waitress avoided eye contact, refilling our coffee mechanically. It should have felt like the start of a carefree escape. Instead, a low current of unease threaded through every moment, subtle but persistent. A reminder that in the forest, fun and danger often look identical when the night is young. The asphalt ended abruptly, swallowed by the dense green of the jungle. Sam pushed a branch aside and stepped forward, determination painted on his face. I followed, though my instincts screamed to turn back. The moment we crossed that invisible line, the air thickened. The scent of wet soil and iron filled my nostrils, sharp and metallic. Sunlight fractured through the canopy into jagged shards, casting the forest floor in fractured patterns that never fully reached the ground. "Feels alive," Sam said, forcing a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. The trail, barely visible, twisted between thick roots, each step sinking slightly in a mud that clung to our boots. The familiar sounds of the outside world, birds, distant traffic, the hum of life, vanished completely. In their place came a low vibration that thrummed beneath the soil, resonating through my bones. "You hear that?" Sam whispered. "Probably a generator," I muttered, though there wasn't a single building for miles. The hum intensified as we climbed a mossy ridge. Mist clung to our legs, and each breath felt heavy, almost stolen. A branch snapped nearby, and my flashlight flickered as if it too sensed the forest's attention. The memory of the old woman at the fruit stand surfaced. "Don't answer if the forest calls your name." I laughed nervously, but the laughter died as the leaves whispered my name, drawn out and deliberate. Sam froze. "Did you?" "No," I said too quickly. The path narrowed, roots rising like black ropes. The trees seemed to shift subtly when we passed, closing ranks behind us. Glancing back, the entrance was gone, replaced by a seamless wall of green. "Officially creepy," Sam muttered, trying to mask his fear. I suggested marking our trail. Sam tied a strip of orange cloth to a branch. Moments later, when we looked back, it had vanished. The vibration underfoot deepened, almost like a heartbeat, echoing in sync with the forest itself. Every instinct screamed that we had passed a threshold from which there might be no return. With one hesitant step forward, I realized the jungle wasn't just around us. It had noticed us, and it would not let us go easily. By late afternoon, the jungle had transformed into a permanent twilight, a bruised green that blurred the line between day and night. Sam checked his watch twice. The digital numbers flickered strangely before settling. "Battery's full," he muttered. "Weird." We hadn't spoken much since realizing the trail behind us had vanished. Every sound was amplified, mud squelching under our boots, the slow drip of condensation, our own ragged breaths. A branch snapped above us. We froze. Dense foliage revealed nothing. "Could be a monkey," Sam whispered. The reply wasn't a monkey. It was a faint murmur, deliberate and polite, as if someone or something was speaking just out of reach. I held my breath. It came again, weaving between the leaves. Syllables formed that brushed my mind rather than my ears. "You hear that?" Sam asked. I nodded. The whispers were rhythmic, almost linguistic, circling us like invisible predators. A gust, or something pretending to be gust, rustled the canopy, carrying my name. Clear, drawn out. "No," I said, voice shaking. "It's a trick." Sam's eyes widened. "They know your name?" I didn't answer. The jungle seemed to lean closer. Leaves quivered without wind. Another voice joined the first, lower, sharper, carrying intent, commands or warnings. "Let's move," I said. We pressed through tangled vines that snagged our clothes like grasping fingers. Every few steps, new voices joined the chorus. A childlike giggle, a rasping sigh, a lullaby off-key. We paused in a small clearing, chests heaving. Mist pooled at our feet. Silence fell abruptly, unnatural and heavy. Then I saw it, a shadow where none should be, tall, narrow, outline almost human but shimmering, like heat over asphalt. Sam raised his flashlight. The beam fractured, barely touching the figure. It tilted its head. The forest exhaled. "Don't," I whispered. The figure dissolved back into the trees. A faint, mocking laugh echoed. The whispers returned, louder, weaving a single phrase that chilled me. "Come closer." Sam grabbed my arm. "We need to go. Now." Every path ahead looked identical to the one behind. The voices, soft and urgent, called, inviting us deeper into the endless dark. Night didn't fall. It seeped, thick and slow, like ink spreading through water. One moment the forest glowed murky green. The next it was a black lattice, a ceiling of shadow where even the memory of the sky felt distant. Sam and I settled in a shallow depression between massive roots. It would have to serve as our camp. The ground was cold, numb in my legs. Crickets, frogs, the usual sounds of night. None appeared. Only oppressive silence pressed against my ears. My flashlight trembled in my hands while Sam struck a match. The flame sputtered and died. "Wind," he muttered, though the air stayed still. We ate in quiet, the forest pressing on us from all sides. Then the whispers began, soft at first, like dry leaves scraping across stone. Slowly, syllables formed, half-words brushing the mind rather than the ear, coaxing attention without revealing meaning. I forced a laugh. Probably the wind. Sam's jaw tightened. "That's not wind." Something moved behind us. I swung the flashlight. Its beam bent strangely, refusing to touch the shadow. My own breathing sounded foreign. "Stay close," Sam said. The whispers intensified, weaving in and out of each other, rising and falling with intelligence, as though listening and testing. My name surfaced again, elongated, haunting. A cold shiver ran down my shoulders. Movement flickered at the edge of the light, a ripple of black, folding into a tree trunk. The forest exhaled a shiver. Sam clutched my wrist. "We're not alone." We sat back to back, flashlight between us. The chorus never ceased, only changed, soft as rain on glass, coaxing, pleading. Exhaustion finally stole my consciousness. My head sagged against the root. Just before sleep claimed me, the clearest voice yet whispered inches from my ear. "Stay until morning." We've been waiting. I jolted upright. The forest waited, patient, ancient, and watching. I woke to a silence, so complete it felt carved from stone. For a moment I thought the night had swallowed every sound forever. But then it came, a single, jagged scream, human yet wrong. Sam's scream. I was on my feet instantly, flashlight trembling in my grip. "Sam." My voice was thin, a desperate plea. The scream came again, closer this time, threaded with a tone that froze my blood. It was Sam's pitch, Sam's panic, but beneath it lurked something older, deeper, inhuman. A second resonance vibrated under the raw fear, a discordant echo that did not belong to him. I spun the flashlight in frantic circles. The hollow where we had camped was empty. Sam's pack lay where he dropped it, straps splayed like open veins. "Sam." No answer. Only my own voice echoed back, twisted, delayed, alien. Branches whipped my arms as I stumbled toward the sound. The flashlight flickered, casting fractured beams that barely touched the shadows. Again, the scream, this time with words warped and jagged. "Help me." Beneath it, a low undertone. "Stay." My stomach nodded. The second voice was not an echo. It spoke through Sam, around him, inside him. A flash of movement ahead. A silhouette in a moonlit shaft, head tilted, mouth open in silent agony. I ran. The place where he should have been was empty, mud glistening with some unseen drag mark. No footprints, only the smell of iron and wet earth. Then, from behind me, Sam's voice again, too close, brushing my ear. "Don't leave." I whipped around. Nothing. Another scream tore through the night, a perfect copy of the first, layered with that inhuman resonance. It vibrated through teeth, bones, and roots beneath my feet. My heartbeat matched the jungle's pulsing rhythm. "Sam," I whispered, "where are you?" The answer came as a laugh, soft, mocking, unmistakably Sam's, yet threaded with something eternal. Finally, a voice inside my skull. "It's not me." The jungle seemed to guide me, not the flashlight or the trail. Every tree leaned, every root twisted like a living hand, urging me forward. I didn't choose to keep walking. My body obeyed a summons I couldn't hear, only feel. The clearing was not an opening in the conventional sense. No stars, no break in the canopy. It was a room carved from the forest itself. Phosphorescent moss pulsed underfoot, glowing faintly as if breathing. Above, branches intertwined, forming a living ceiling. Hundreds of small lights flickered. At first, I thought fireflies. Then I realized eyes. I froze. The points of light shifted, locking on me with a patience that felt older than soil. I couldn't count them, all watching, all waiting. A sigh swept across the clearing. The moss pulsed brighter. "Sam," I whispered, knowing he couldn't answer. From a far side stepped a figure in Sam's clothes, tall, thin, movements too smooth for a human. His face was hidden in shadow. "Why did you follow?" The voice was Sam's and not Sam's, layered with an undertone that vibrated the air. I tried to speak, throat constricting. "You heard me call," it said. "You always would." The eyes above blinked again, and a murmur rippled through the branches. A chorus of curiosity, hunger, approval. "What are you?" I forced out. The figure tilted its head. "This is where names don't matter. The forest keeps what it wants." The moss brightened, illuminating impossible shapes in the shadows, elongated limbs, torsos bending unnaturally, faces blurred like reflections on disturbed water. They circled outside the glow, their gaze a tangible weight. I stepped back. The ground pulsed beneath my boots, warning me. "Don't go," the Sam thing said. "You'll never hear the world the same. It will always call you back." A gust swept the clearing, carrying overlapping voices, pleading, promising, threatening. The eyes flashed in sync like a heartbeat. I bolted into the trees. The glow faded, but the memory of those countless eyes burned into my skull. I ran until my lungs burned, branches clawing at my arms, the jungle pressing in like a living wall. The forest didn't pursue me directly. It only shifted, every tree leaning, every root rising just enough to snag my boots. Behind me, the whispers swelled into a storm of voices. Some were Sam's, some were mine. Others belonged to something older, carrying words I could not understand, yet recognized. "Stay, stay, stay." I stumbled into a smaller clearing, lit by a fractured moonbeam. In the center stood a figure, Sam, or what wore his shape. His clothes were torn, skin pale and flawless. eyes reflecting a light that shouldn't exist. "You don't have to run," he said, voice soft, pleading. "You came because you heard me. You belong." My heart pounded. "What did you do to him?" I demanded, unsure whether I meant Sam or myself. The figure tilted his head in a motion too smooth, too deliberate. "He's still here. We all are. The forest isn't a prison. It's a choice." Behind him, silhouettes emerged from the shadows, slender, elongated, eyes like dying embers. They didn't move toward me, but their presence pressed inward, patient, absolute. "What choice?" I asked, barely above a whisper. "To listen," he said. "To stay. To carry the silence back. So others will come. One voice becomes many. Many become forever." The jungle pulsed, a low vibration rising through the soil into my bones. Thoughts blurred, half mine, half the forest's urging surrender. Why fight? Into running. In the noise. I gripped the flashlight, shaking. "No." The something smiled sadly. "You can leave, but the scream will follow. Always." He nodded as I stepped back, creating a narrow path. Escape was possible, but it came with a warning. The forest would never release me completely. "If you go," he said, "you'll carry us. You'll dream us. You'll bring others." The air carried a scent of decay and flowers, strangely comforting. My knees trembled with the urge to surrender. "I'm not yours," I whispered. "Then run," he said. "But remember, every breath you take out there is borrowed from us." The path yawned ahead. I ran, forest whispers chasing me, promising that leaving was only another kind of staying. I don't remember choosing to run. One moment, the clearing breathed around me. The next, my legs carried me through the black labyrinth of trunks and vines. The forest didn't fight, not overtly. It only shifted, every tree leaning, every root rising just high enough to snag my boots. Behind me, whispers swelled into a storm of voices. Some Sam's, some mine, others older, alien. "You will come back. You are ours." The path twisted, a snake of roots and mud, but a faint silver glow drew me onward. Moonlight, hallucination, I couldn't tell. My breath came ragged, matched by the jungle's heartbeat beneath the soil. A break in the canopy revealed a slice of night sky. Stars. I almost cried. I lunged toward it, only for the ground beneath me to lurch, moss writhing like muscle. I fell, mud scraping my palms. "Please," I whispered, unsure if I was begging the forest or myself. The forest responded with silence, heavy, expectant. I forced myself up, stumbling forward. The silver glow strengthened, bright enough to sting. Cold air hit my face, startling after the jungle's humid breath. With each step, the oppressive pulse faded. Roar to murmur, murmur to memory. Then I was out. One moment, walls of green pressed around me. The next, I stood on a dirt road slick with dew. Behind me, the trees loomed, silent, inert. Not a leaf stirred. I expected glowing eyes or Sam's impossible shape. Nothing. Only ordinary woods, unremarkable. My watch ticked normally. 3:17 a.m. At the tree lay my backpack, mud-streaked but intact, placed deliberately. I grabbed it and ran, following the ribbon of road to the distant town lights. Collapsed on a diner porch, the world smelled of coffee and gasoline, civilization, safety. And yet, in the quiet between breaths, I felt it. The pulse. Slow, patient, familiar. The forest had let me go, but it had not released me. I wish I could say life returned to normal after that night. That hot showers and motel rooms washed the jungle from my skin. But the forest travels differently. It lingers in the air you breathe, the spaces between your heartbeats, the subtle silence that hums just beyond awareness. I drove home before dawn, gripping the wheel until my knuckles ached. Every mile felt borrowed, as if the trees outside the car windows only pretended to be ordinary. Streetlights flickered in patterns I almost recognized, a rhythm echoing the heartbeat I'd felt beneath the soil. Friends asked about Sam. Elite said he was still out there, lost in the search, though I knew the truth. They nodded, pity in their eyes, and I could tell they didn't fully believe me. Maybe they heard the shadow in my voice, the lingering echo. Sometimes in the stillness, I hear him again, a soft intake of breath behind me, a voice shaped like Sam's, threaded with that older, impossible resonance. It never forms words I can repeat, only suggestions, half shapes sliding through my mind. Nightmares are now my companions. I dream of the clearing. The eyes above blink in unison, moss glowing with each heartbeat. I wake with soil under my nails, the faint smell of wet leaves clinging to my bedroom. I've tried everything: music, sleeping pills, therapy, but silence always finds me. It waits until I'm alone, until the clock strikes past 3, and then it begins, a low hum, a whisper of my name, threading through the night air. Sometimes I wonder if I ever truly left. Perhaps the forest isn't a place on a map, but a frequency, a door opened once you hear the right sound. It lives between worlds, waiting for anyone curious or unlucky enough to listen. I'm telling you not as a warning. Warnings rarely work, but so you might recognize it when it comes. The strange quiet before a storm, the delayed echo of your own footsteps, a faint voice threading through the darkness calling a name that may be yours. If you hear it, don't answer. Or do, because it already knows which choice you'll make.